Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's CalFX here with another market outlook video. So this actually was the first week trading of 2023. And so far, it's been a solid week for me personally. I had 2 trades only and 2 winners, right? So, I couldn't ask for a better start. Even some of the trades, I think I shared on the free group, so the link is in the description below. So yeah, it's been a very solid week. Just keeping the consistency, repeating the same thing that we do every single day, right? And now let's just see what the next week has for us, right? So let's just start with EUR-USD as we always do, and I would love to start from the 12-month time frame so we can pretty much get the bigger picture, right? From a high time frame perspective. So let me just search. Okay, we have the vector source right here, and let's look at the yearly time frame, right? Let's just understand what's going on. So when we look at the yearly time frame, we can see that we had this structure high, and then we have this structure low, right? Price then broke structure, created this high, this low, and then broke structure again. We have a body closure, and then it created this high. So we pretty much traded within this range low and this range high. Everything that is happening within this range is what we call internal structure price action, right? So we can see that we have this order block, and price actually just tapped this yearly bullish order block. So our expectation is to see price actually continue to move towards the upside, taking out the previous high to maintain the bullish order flow, right? To keep the bullish order flow intact, correct? So that is just the clear picture, right? Simple thing, just coming to 12 months just to understand the bigger picture from a higher time frame perspective, especially the 12 month, right? And after you see this, I'm pretty sure you don't need to you don't need to come back every single day to the yearly time frame. So let's just drop down to the monthly time frame, right? So we come down to the monthly. So if we look at the monthly time frame, we can see that the structure, the swing structure overall is still bearish, right? Because we just had previously we had this high, low, price then created this high, right? After it broke this previous high. So then we had this reaction right here at this demand zone right here. We had a pullback. We were expecting price to take out this previous high, but what happened? This low failed to do its job, so it became a weak low, and we had the high reluctancy. So price then broke this previous low, creating a break of structure right here. So some people consider this to be a demand to supply flip. Actually, that's very correct, right? So that's this, we can say that, okay, this was the demand reaction, this was the pullback, and then violation. So we had the demand to supply flip, right? So on the monthly time frame, we can clearly see that the structure is still bearish overall. So if we drop down, but we also have in mind that price tapped this yearly bullish order block right here. So when we drop down to the weekly time frame, we can see that we had this change of character, right? We can see that previously the structure was bearish, right? We had this low, high, then we had this low, then a high, then this low got broken with a body right here, created this low, and we had this high. So then we had the break right here, this change of character, giving us a sign that, okay, price is now about to do a pullback towards this supply zones right here, right? So on the weekly time frame, we can see that the structure is bullish, right, on the weekly, but on the monthly, the overall structure is still bearish, right? So we drop down to the daily time frame, we can see that the daily structure is bullish. We can see the order flow right here is absolutely clean. We had this previous high right here, low, it got broken, price came back. It didn't come back to this POI that I had marked previously, but price then kept breaking structure. We saw this very clean void filling right here and mitigation, right? We can see that all this was a void, and price came perfectly to mitigate this order block, push towards the upside, even came below 50%. So this was just a beautiful discount zone to buy, right? And then price continued to push towards the upside. So when we look at the structure, right, the swing structure on the daily, we can see that, okay, we have this structure low, price then just made this high, right? So right here, we're still expecting to see price to pull back, right, to create that bearish order flow, which is a daily pullback towards its POI, and then we will see if whether price will continue from this or the block all the way to the upside, or it will just create that bearish order flow towards the downside, right? So if we look at the weekly, we can say, okay, daily is still bullish, right? So we drop down to 4-hour time frame. So this week right here, this is what I saw once I came, because we also had this point of interest. Let me just go back to daily time frame. And this is actually this point of interest right here that we can see. If I bring price here, we can see that price actually had created this previous low, right? And then it actually pushed up, grabbed liquidity, and then dropped towards the downside. So we left this week right here. And we can see that this week is higher than the previous week. So that means that this was a liquidation week. So there is still resting orders right here, right? So that means that this was the last point of buyer's exhaustion before sellers came in and pushed price towards the downside. So it's a very significant zone. That's why we are actually having this reaction. Soon price actually tapped this supply zone. We can see this down candle right here, this pullback, right? So that just shows how significant that zone was. So if I bring price to 4 hour, and we can understand something very important right here, is that, okay, we had this low, then, we had this high, then low, then price created this high. What happened is that this high was never broken with a body right here. Price actually dropped this week right here. It failed to close above. So usually when price fails to close above a high, right, with a week, that means that the bullish sentiment in the market at this particular point was depleting. That's why sellers came in with this huge volume candle. And we as retail traders, we don't have enough money to cause this huge momentum in the market. So this was just straight sales, huge selling orders right here. So as price actually failed to close above, I'm expecting to see some sort of pullback, right? We had just had the pullback. I'm expecting to see some sort of mitigation in this zone, right? M15 change of character, and then we can sell all the way down to correct the inefficiencies on the daily time frame, because as we know, we have so many inefficiencies below, right? We have loads of imbalances below this huge order block right here that we're still waiting to be mitigated. So if I drop down, for example, 30 minutes time frame, the first step that we had actually was, I think it was on Thursday, we had this change of character right here. And I was expecting, I had a point of interest right here that I refined. I even sent on the free group as well. So I had this point of interest right here that I was looking to sell, but there was no confirmation on lower time frame, and price is still at the POI, right? So I'm still waiting to see if this point of interest will hold, or price will just violate to continue towards the upside. But either way, I'll be waiting for a clean M15 break of structure to the downside so I can sell all the way down, right? So far, I will just remain a little bit patient and wait for the market open to see an M50 change of character, and then that's when I can get involved on the other lower time frames. All right, so that's it for EUR-USD. Let's move to another pair. So here we are on Aussie dollar, and we can see that, let me just go down to monthly time frame. So if we look at what's going on the monthly time frame on Aussie dollar, we can see that the structure is bearish, right? We can see that we just had this previous low, then we had this high, and then price created this swing low. So we can see that the swing structure here is bearish. Price came back perfectly to mitigate this extreme order block up here. It was way above 61.8 fib zone, so it was a great premium zone to sell from, right? And price now just came towards the downside. Now, our expectation is to see this low to be taken to continue that bearish order flow, right? But so far, what happened is that price had a demand zone right here. I think it was on the weekly, so let me go drop down to weekly. So price came to this nice order block. We can see that we had fair value gap sitting below, so price actually corrected that imbalance, and now it had started pushing towards the upside. But when we look at the weekly time frame and you ask yourself, okay, what is the structure right here, right? We can see that the structure is still bearish. We have a beautiful mitigation play right here, break, mitigation, the second break. So the structure up to this point is still bearish, okay? So I actually refined this point of interest. I think I refined on the 4-hour time frame. So let me drop down to daily. Oh yeah, it was the daily time frame. So I saw these two candles. I think it was the 2 days time frame. Absolutely right. It was this point of interest right here that I had. So I'm still, price just came, tapped that point of interest. We can see this nice reaction towards the downside right here. And once price comes to my daily supply zone, what I like to wait is for a hourly change of character, especially like 4-hour time frame, right? So once price taps this daily, this is a weekly point of interest, but it was refined to daily, so I can just drop down to 4-hour, right? So what I did is I dropped down to 4-hour time frame. So once here we are on the 4-hour. So price actually came here, tapped the POI, and we can see this great reaction that we just had right here. We just had this nice 4-hour change of character right here, right? Price came up, then broke this previous low, and it created this point of interest right here. So this right here is a change of character. So as we know, change of character is not a confirmation of trend shift. It's just the first sign of a trend reversal, right? It's just the first sign. It's just the intention, right? Shown right here. So we just had this nice 4-hour change of character. Now we have price actually coming towards this point of interest right here on M15. So what I'm waiting for is that once price taps this 4-hour, I will be waiting for an M15 change of character or M30, right? It's just the same thing. So I'll be waiting for M30 change of character to the downside, so then I can sell and target these previous lows. Okay, so that's just the outlook on Aussie dollar. Let's move to another pair. Here we are on GU, and we can look at GU from the weekly time frame. We can see that, I mean, even from the monthly time frame, we can see the GU is heavily bearish, right? I mean, we just had this break mitigation right here. We finally had a body closure right here. Very, very important when it comes to break of structure. So we just had this break. So on the monthly time frame, GU is heavily bearish, right? We can clearly see the swing structures. And if we drop down to the weekly time frame, we can still see that the structure is quite bearish, right? Price just came to this supply zone right here. It had a nice reaction. That's why we saw this strong pullback right here. But if we drop down, for example, to the daily time frame, we can see that, okay, we had this beautiful bullish order flow up to this point, right? So what happened is that price actually created this high, this low, and then it created this high. What happened is that we had a change of character, and I was waiting to see price actually pulling back right away, right? And then continue to the downside. But price actually came to this extreme demand zone sitting below, and now we're starting to push towards the upside, right? So I had a refined point of interest right here. I think you guys can see this week. The reason why I chose this week is because this was the last point of buyer's exhaustion before sellers came in with this huge momentum. So technically on this week, that's where we have a hidden order block on the lower time frames. So if I drop down to 4-hour time frame, I mean, we can even see on the 4-hour this week right here that we didn't have another week, right? On the previous candle, like we didn't have a huge week that came to mitigate. So there were still rested orders at this point of interest. That's why we had this huge momentum right here, this huge reaction, right? This huge pullback. So once price comes, taps my 4-hour, what I usually like to do is drop to 30 minutes time frame, right? So if you look at what's going on the 30 minutes, the swing structure is still bullish, right? Because we have this high and then we have this solidified low, right? So this was a solidified high, solidified low, that then we had this strong leg towards the upside. It created this high. So now price pullback created this low. And now we're pretty much seeing price struggling a little bit to push towards the upside, but there is a possibility that price may take out this previous high and continue to move towards the upside, or we may have the high reluctancy and then price takes out this low, and then we have the change of character that we can trade from. Okay, so this is just the what's going on at the 30 minutes. So we can see the price action tapped this 4-hour right here, right? This 4-hour refined point of interest. So if we have that 30-minute change of character to the downside, I will be looking for sales, or if not, we will just look for buys, right? So that's it for GU. Let's move to another pair. New Zealand dollar. New Zealand dollar, we can see that the structure right here is still bearish, right? we can clearly see, for example, if we drop down, if I come to monthly time frame, the first outlook that I had is that, okay, I saw this nice change of this push towards the upside right here. And I had this order block sitting below, and we can see that we still have a fair value gap here, some sort of inefficiency. We can see here between these weeks right here, we still have inefficiency. So this usually is just a confluence as to why price may decide to come down to this point of interest. We can just stack up the confidence that, okay, we just had this order block. We had this huge momentum following this down candle before the up move that went on to violate this previous high. So we have a clean order block. We have huge momentum following that order block, and we have the imbalances left. So those three confluences, I made a video on that. I actually pop up the link for you guys to watch. Great video on the confluences for choosing the right order block, right? So right here, we were just taking up the confluences, and I'm still waiting to see if price would tap this point of interest and then probably continue to move towards the upside. But so far, it kind of, I looked at this low because this low didn't tap the order block. So I just looked at this as an inducement. So there's a possibility that price may either come, for example, to this point of interest, and then we see the continuation to the upside, taking out all these people that decide to buy from this point, and then we have the push towards the upside. But as of now, what's going on right here is that if we drop down to weekly time frame, we can see that the structure right here, this had this nice bearish order flow right here, all the way down, clean mitigations. Price just came to this extreme order block sitting above, sweeping this inducement. So if we drop down to the daily time frame, we will see that on the daily time frame, we had this beautiful bullish structure right here. Price had created this high, this low, then it broke, it created this high. So the order block was sitting below. Price just pulled back and then created the second break of structure. And it caught so many people off guard right here by creating inducement, right? And we can see that we had so much imbalances below. That's why price actually then came down to this one, and now it's starting to push towards the upside. So the daily time frame overall is still bullish, right? And price just ended up taking this previous high right here, but it failed to close above. So this is a sign usually, right, that price was struggling to close above. Maybe the bullish sentiment in the market at this particular moment was depleting. That's why we had this huge momentum towards the downside right here. So if I drop down to 4-hour time frame, on the 4-hour time frame, we can see that the structure is still bullish, right? So in order for me to look for sales, even though price is still at this weekly supply zone, I will need to see a 4-hour change of character. So far, the structure is still bullish, so I'm remaining bullish as of now. But there is a possibility, right? If price does that, right, I would love to see some sort of change of character, price taking out these previous lows, and then I can then look for sales, right? But so far the structure is still bullish, and we have to respect what price is showing us at the moment, right? So structure is still bullish, and I will be waiting for a change of character if it provides. So let's move to UJ. UJ now, I think UJ is behaving very well now. Because I remember before I used to trade so much UJ, but it got to a point where it just started pushing towards the upside. I remember this right here was pretty much the whole year. Especially this was just the whole 2022, right? Price was just pushing towards the upside all the time, nonstop. Only on the last quarter, that's when we started to see, UJ finally pulling back. Right, so price just as we can see, price had created this high, then this low, and then it created this high. So the expectation was to see price at this pulling back to this order blocks right here, but price failed to do that. It actually created inducement, right? It created this second break of structure right here, and so many people got caught off guard right here. Some people probably have set their limit orders here, and they just got stopped out. Price came to the extreme. So in these situations, you have to be very careful when price pulls back like this and doesn't mitigate the order block and leaves so much imbalances below. right? Because this could just be inducement. And inducement, what is inducement? I'll actually make a video on that, on liquidity versus inducement. But inducement is just when they make you do something, right? They just broke structure. They know that a lot of people will buy from this order block, and they just took everybody out, came to the extreme. And there is a possibility that we may see price continue that move towards the upside, because the weekly is still bullish, right? So let me just, if we drop down to the daily time frame, right? What we can see is, we can see this beautiful structure play right here, right? I mean, this bearish order flow clean, right? We just have this nice swing low, right? Swing high, and then price just created this low right here. We had finally a bottom closure right here. So price actually then pulled back right here to this. This were the two order blocks that I marked. I also sent on the private Telegram group as an outlook. So price actually just reacted to the first supply zone right here, had a huge reaction. As soon as it tapped, it dropped. But there is a possibility that we may see price actually continue to move towards the upside. So for me on UJ, I will only be bullish, right? Once I see price taking out this daily high. Once we have the daily change of character, then I'm bullish, right? But as of now, structure is still, from the daily time frame, structure is still very, very bearish. So if we drop down to 4 hour, right, we can see that this was the reaction. Price came, it created this V-shaped recovery right here, came to the extreme right here. We can see another inducement that was created here, is that price broke this previous high, left a nice order block. So many people probably set their limits here, stopped out, and then see the price move in that direction, right? So this is what happens. We can see imbalances right here. That's why I always say, be careful with imbalance. If price leaves a point of interest, right, it doesn't mitigate the point of interest, and it has so much imbalances. So we have to think twice, or at least look for confirmations on lower time frames, right? So this is what we're seeing, right? Price came to the extreme of this order block that it broke in this previous hourly structure, right? And then now we're seeing price actually pushing towards the upside. Now, if I drop down to M15, what we can see is that I even sent this yesterday, right, Friday morning. And I mean, I think it was an afternoon, right? I saw this break mitigation, then a second break right here, very clean structure play. So what I'm looking to see is, once market opens, for example, around London session, I may find a selling opportunity on lower time frames all the way down. But I would recommend, I will wait for price to tap this point of interest, M15, and then you can drop down to lower time frames, or you can just set a limit order at this order block and you cover this invalidation line, given a nice buffer below the invalidation, and then look to continue the move towards the upside, right? It's just absolutely valid. So the M15 right here is still, it has a very nice bullish structure. So M15 is still bullish, but overall the daily is heavily bearish, right? So I'm only be looking for long-term buys once I see the daily change of character, right? So let's move to another pair. So finally, we come to US 30, right? So let's just look at indices, right? If we look at what's going on the US with the tech companies, I mean, tech companies are really, a lot of tech companies are struggling right now because of the interest rate hikes that has been going on since last year, right, 2022. And we're seeing so many layoffs as well. That's why we're actually seeing that US 30 has been pretty much was bearish the whole 2022. And now, then we had, I think it was like around October, we had this nice change of character, which was the sign of bullish intention. But if we read structure, right, this is the importance of, this is one of the reasons why I always stress the importance of understanding market structure, right? Because so many people may be panicking, especially people that invest in stocks. They may be panicking, with this index saying that, okay, US 30 is just dropping. But if you look at the structure, price just tapped this bullish order block, this monthly order block. On the weekly, we just had a change of character. So we just had a sign of bullish intention here. So if you drop down, for example, to the daily, let me just go back to weekly so I can show you what happened. is that once price actually created this weekly change of character, we have 2 points of interest. We have this one right here that I marked, and this one right here below. This is just the extreme. We still have loads of imbalances sitting below. So there is a possibility that price may just come towards this point of interest and then continue to move towards the upside, right? So price came to the first order block. Let's see what happens. So price came to weekly. Once price comes to my weekly order block, what I like to see is a daily change of character or 4 hour, right? What happened is that I dropped down to the daily time frame and I refined this POI actually on the daily. I actually saw this imbalance right here. And the reason why I even explained this on the private mentorship as well about the imbalance as point of interest. Sometimes you may mark this one, but it's important to understand imbalances and order blocks as an order block, right? But price tapped this point of interest that I refined on the daily. So what happened is that I dropped down to 4 hour time frame, right? So if we look at what's going on in the 4 hour is that once price tapped this daily order block, we had the first sign of bullish intention, which is change of character, right? Chop. So we had this change of character, price then mitigated right here, right? So we had this failed low right here, clean, right? Price came back and then price actually broke structure again right here. So it created this bullish order flow on the 4 hour, right? With this second break of structure. So we had break, mitigation, then price created the second break and we left this order block right here. So that's what I was waiting for, right? I was waiting for price to come down to this order block. I even sent this this setup right here on the public group on Telegram, right? I always also make sure I send US30 setup. So we had these 2 breaks of structure on the 4 hour. Price came back to our 4 hour bullish order block. Now, when price comes to my 4 hour, what I like to see is an M30 or M15 change of character, or you can use 1 hour as well. So let's just drop down to, we can drop to the hourly time frame and we can see that, okay, once price tapped this 4 hour, the structure right here was, we had this low, then high, and then price swept this previous low right here, right? Creating this low. Then price actually broke structure towards the upside. So we had a change of character right here. So if I, let me just mark the change of character. So this one right here is a very nice hourly change of character. I think we can see the POI on the M30. So on the M30 time frame, we have this nice order block right here. This is a nice M30 order block on US30, and probably we have a one sitting below. Right here, I'm not seeing anything. I think the price action here is efficient. There is no imbalances, so I'm not seeing a big reason as to why price has to come down to this low. If I drop down to M15, I mean, M15, I really don't see anything. I don't see imbalances below, right? Because imbalance is a great confluence for an order block, so I'm not seeing imbalances right there. And I will just keep this M30 time P point of interest right here. So this is just a very nice point of interest right here. We have even this very clean right here on the 45 minutes. So we have a 45-minute change of character inside this 4 hour point of interest, right? So what I would recommend is to wait for price to come down to this point of interest. If you want, you can just set a limit here for people that don't have time, right, to be on the charts. You can just set a limit order here and cover the low. You can cover this low right here or the low or below. You can just put your stop loss below the order block, give a nice buffer and hope the moves to continue towards the upside. Or we can refine this POI, for example, on the M15 and to this down candle right here. And when it comes to refinements, right, I think I'll make a video for you guys on refinement as well. But if you look at this week was the last point of seller's exhaustion. Then the buyers came in, pushed the body up, and from this point on, they moved towards the upside. So technically, this week right here is the order block, right? This is just the refined order block. If I drop down to 10 minutes time frame, I think we can see perfectly this candle that is within this down candle, right? But I mean, there is a possibility that you may miss the move, right? Because of over refinement, but this right here is a very good POI, or you can just keep the 30-minute, this M15 point of interest. So when price comes, we can drop down to 3 minutes time frame, wait for a change of character, and then take the trade with a better, which you will have a better confirmation and odds more on your favor, right? So that's it, guys, for the outlook. I hope I was able to explain perfectly the outlooks that we have for the next week. I hope you guys have a great trading week ahead. And guys, don't forget, if you guys would love to see the charts, right? I will send the charts here. So right here, I always send the setups on this free Telegram group. So make sure you join the group. And if you love to have a mentorship, right? Feel free to contact me, right? Anytime you want. So I see you guys next time.